This is Boomer Life on CIL 650.
Lucy in the sky with diamonds. Lucy in the sky with diamonds.
Welcome back to the program. This is Boomer Life on CIL 650, and we're talking all diamonds with Stephen Benolio from Canadian Estate Diamonds and Canadian Noble House Diamonds, and of course our musical director Dwayne Bishop providing some theme stuff there, and Stephen is enjoying all of the tunes. I wanted to ask you something. You mentioned this before, and Canadian Estate Diamonds, and you're now starting to see a few of our CIL 650 listeners come into the store. Canadian Estate Diamonds specializes in buying jewelry from individuals. What's the difference? Now let's just put a bit of a twist on this. Let's just say there's a money panic. Okay, all of a sudden there's something's come up, and we need to get our hands on some cash super fast. And one of the ways that we could do that is to sell off one of these old pieces of jewelry that's been hanging around that we've been going to get rid of forever and never got around to, and now we need some money. And now the instinct typically would be, well, let's just hustle this down to a pawn shop and see what we can get for it. What's the difference between taking that piece of jewelry to a pawn shop versus taking that same piece of jewelry to Canadian Estate Diamonds, Stephen? What's the difference, not only in the way the individual is going to be treated, but in the outcome?
Okay, well, I think everybody in some way has had some experience with a pawn shop, whether you're just shopping there before or you had to take a loan from them. But on jewelry, they go 10 cents on the dollar, and that is the lowest return you're going to find. But
so if they estimate something to be $1,000, they'll give you $100 for it?
That's right.
Wow.
That's right.
Okay.
Now we're talking about back again from that insurance appraisal. So that would be one way to turn it. You can go to the gold dealers. What we try to do is we look at the quotes that they're giving out on any given day on gold, and we offer $1 more per gram, just because we don't want people to have to go to two different places to sell their gold and to us to sell the diamond. If they go to an antique dealer in jewelry, they usually get 20% on the appraised value, and we offer 25.
Okay.
So now again, the insurance appraised value isn't its value. Most jewelers in the first place, when they're selling something, want to look good, and they're selling it as it's new at 50% of its appraised value.
Okay.
So when we're offering 25% of its appraised value, that might sound low, but really it's not. We're wholesaling it back into the trade to a jeweler often, and they in turn are marking it up as well.
Oh, so you sell to jewelers as well as private consumers then?
I've been selling to jewelers all my life.
Okay.
As a wholesaler in diamonds, that's how I started in the industry.
And do both sides of the enterprise, Stephen, both Noble House and Canadian Estate, sell to jewelers?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And the future will be with Noble House that we're going to try to build a bigger online presence, and we want to be a source-to-sale supplier, meaning that we will, in not a huge capacity, but in terms of quality and size and design, in the next 10 to 15 years in Vancouver, we will be selling some of the finest diamonds in the world.
Well, now this is the opportunity, and I've forgotten the gentleman's name, and I shouldn't, because I've seen some of his work, and he is a master cutter. Who is your partner, your creative genius at Canadian Noble House, who is responsible for these amazing cuts?
Andrew Thatcher, and I could proudly tell you he's for sure the nicest or best cutter in North America. Andrew has cut in Japan and California, in Yellowknife in Quebec. His skill is not just that he's a great brilliantier, he's also a lover of colored stones, and there are 10,000 different ways that a colored stone can be cut in terms of design and shape, and he's been able to adapt those to diamond, which may sound obvious, but the truth is most colored stones are very soft and easily cut and polished, and diamonds are the hardest thing in our world by 9,000 times, and they have a grain. So to try and facet across a grain or against the grain is something that takes years and years to do well. Lasers are taking us there. There will be more shapes and cuts of diamonds in the coming 20 years than you can imagine. There'll be diffraction gradients, which are ways to increase the dispersion or colors cut on the edge of diamonds by lasers. But Andy's skill is unique. I've taken one of our diamonds called Excalibur to Antwerp in a search for rough, and in a room full of brokers showing them the shape around the table. Most of them couldn't understand how he even did it.
Wow.
How he'd cut to.
And this is Antwerp, the diamond capital
Sure.
of the world.
Everybody thinks it's old school. It's where it all started, but the truth is, innovation is of this place and this time. And Andy is cutting diamond. I've seen the production of the whole world, the best of the Russian goods, the South African, Belgian, and Israel. And I'm telling you, they're in the top 1%, and his diamonds are as beautiful as anything I've ever seen. So it's easy to sell something when you're proud of it, and
Right.
when you know it is as fine as anything in the time. So yeah, I'm proud to sell Andy's diamonds.
Well, I've seen a couple of examples of his work, and it really is quite stunning. Can I ask you about colored diamonds, though? Because I can remember a time when only white diamonds were thought to be the real deal, and anything sort of yellowish or pinkish or whatever was thought to be, well, it's off color. It's of lesser value. It's not
Right.
white and pristine and perfect. That's changed in recent years, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's an interesting point, because I think back to my beginning in the diamond business, and part of it started with I was working at a dead-end job in Toronto, and as any young person struggling with my future, and this lady walked into a store I was in, and she had a 3-carat canary yellow diamond on her finger, and I'd never seen one. I didn't realize that diamonds even came in anything but white.
Right.
I asked her about it, and I was fascinated. And you're right. For the most part, I mean, people have always aspired to blues and pinks, but for somebody to buy a brown diamond as fancy we always thought absurd.
Almost a reject.
Yeah,
wouldn't it be?
that's
Yeah.
true. It was a whole part of the industry that was just a tough sell. Yeah, today it's at a point where I think some of them have been maybe overdone in terms of the value that they represent
Right.
today, and where it might settle out over the years. But there are some that are beautiful. I had a diamond 5 or 6 years ago that was a heart-shaped 3-carat, and it was green, an olive green, but it was a chameleon. It means that it changed color.
Oh, boy.
That's something that you see in colored stones in 2 or 3 different kinds, but in diamond it's very rare, and it's subtle, but you could go from the light we're in right now and walk out into the sunlight, and it would look a different color.
Interesting.
So it really was a matter of the light that was bearing down on it. But yeah, it's something that if you're inside the trade, something like that strikes you as they are a beautiful gemstone. You know, if you look at all of the requirements of any gem, its durability, its rarity, and its beauty. Diamonds got them all in spades.
Right,
You know,
right.
it's the most dispersive, scintillating, hardest, toughest. It's still good after 100 years in a ring.
Right.
Hey, there's not too many colored stones that can say that. I mean, there's certain colored stones I love, but diamonds, as far as what it takes to be a gemstone, they've got it all.
Now, before we take the break here, Dwayne and I are both. We're in suspense here. I need to know how much that heart-shaped 3-carat chameleon diamond, rare as it is, how much would that be worth these days? I always like to put a dollar figure on these things.
Yeah.
It sort of rounds the. It helps my thinking, strangely enough.
Right. It was kind of an olive green,
Right.
so it wasn't the emerald green that
Right,
you
right.
might imagine. But
Right.
I think it'd be about $100,000.
Wow.
But in the realm of colored stones, we were trying to find a 7-carat cushion cut blue, and this was a blue that was like a sapphire blue. It was and it was $15 million.
Oh my.
That was a year ago. So it shows you.
I'm glad
the
I'm
realm
sitting
of-
down. That's a biggie.
It was big.
Does-
It was beautiful.
Doesn't matter. I know, Dwayne. Hang on. I got to ask you this, and then we'll go for the break. We've been all talking in terms of diamond rings, and my whole focus in this conversation has been something you wear in your finger. But obviously, there are pendants and earrings and brooches and all sorts of other ways to wear diamonds. Does the application or does the mounting of the stone in something other than a ring change its value at all, or is it just about the intrinsic, what the stone itself has?
No, it's the intrinsic. Usually a diamond of high quality ends up in a ring or a pendant.
Okay.
And earrings, often people will take a lower quality because it's not something that is as important as the giving of that engagement ring.
Okay. All right. Interesting. Well, let's take a quick break here. Put Dwayne out of his misery, and he's getting ready to play another tune here as well. So we'll stay in suspense for another couple of minutes to find out what that'll be when we return here on Boomer Life on CIL 650.
It's all about the baby boomer lifestyle. Boomer Life on CIL 650.